what is the Quebec and the Montreal conventions like? What's the scene like? Are people very friendly and collaborative? Have they been growing with the scene? Has there been a lot of new entries into the scene? What can you tell us about it?
Well, it's sure that we got the big guns in the States, San Diego, WonderCon, MegaCon. Yeah, there's so many, New York Comic Con also. Montreal have been following for a bit, and I know that they've been working hard to be on the scene, like being the best in, not in North America, but in Canada, I would say. And it's still small compared to what I've seen on others' convention. Even Toronto, it's bigger than Montreal. But cosplay wise, we got so many good, talented cosplayers, but we still are drilling in the back. So we are working hard, and I know a few of my friends are traveling around the world just to learn some skills and to get that knowledge into Montreal, so they can finally get to the level that we I see in Toronto or in the States or even in around the world. So this is something that I grew up with that. Montreal is actually like showing me that I can do much better. And then Quebec and Montreal are different also because they're like baby conventions. So especially Quebec, the fact that this is really far from um, big cities like Montreal, so you see that people will go there, but not often. But Montreal, we're gathering so many people, talent, and then you learn a lot. You learn also so much, and with also the people that we invite from other countries, cosplayers, you just boost your knowledge, and then what that's bring me now to wanted to go overseas and see more. Um, and Montreal, I would say that yeah, it's a friendly environment when you go to Comic Con. Everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to party and just enjoy that moment, that pop culture that you see on television, and they will give everything. It's a big community also in Montreal. They are so involved in what we don't know. It's just that, oh, you do costume, oh, you go to convention, but it's so big for that particular moment that people doesn't know that it could be bigger in around Canada, and also Quebec. So it's they're still learning a lot, but I know that they have a lot to learn from others, and then we will get to a point that our community, our cosplayer, are seen much more worldwide, international. So that's the difference I see when I travel around other convention, and it's also good to represent your hometown because you know that every year people are coming back and then they see you grow up in your costume and your skills. So in that same moment and at the same time, they grow up with you because they see it the level, and then they need to uprise their skills. So it's also something that I love about Montreal Comic Con and Quebec Comic Con too. I know there's a few coming around that they're smaller, but the big ones are Montreal and Quebec for now. So they're not that bad.
Okay, okay. You sold me on that. You really did. That community sounds very welcoming. I spent some time growing up in Montreal and I do visit often, so I love how expressive and how friendly the scene is. But hearing about someone who's active in it and like what it's doing and the direction that it's going in, that to me is really impressive. So that's cool. And Toronto is always welcoming cosplayers to come to our events, and you can borrow some of our secrets. It's okay. We want to help you guys
Yeah,
out.
and what it's cool because I remember when I went to Toronto. It wasn't the first time I went to Toronto. I had a lot of family and friends, but that was my first time going for a convention and knowing that I had to bring my suit, and maybe people would not necessarily judge, but look at my suit and see who's that guy. I never seen him before. I know the cosplay community for from Ontario, from Toronto, but that guy, he's new. And when I went there, I thought I was a stranger, but not at all. I felt so good to see other cosplayers having that same energy and passion about just doing costume and even for the Flash. Because the reason when I went to Toronto, it was to meet John Wesley Shipp, the OG Flash. So that
Mm,
was something that I wanted to experience, but also seeing the scene, the cosplay scene was so different. And I made a few good friends. I know that even now they are still cosplaying a bit less, but they're good friends. And Toronto is something that I would do more often, because I think they have a little bit they're a little bit more strong for costume and cosplay making in props. So I can learn a little bit more from them too.
that's great. And like I said, keep on praising us and we'll keep on giving you all the tips. That Toronto mentality. What about the convention over in France? How does that compare to what you've been to, and what's the scene out there like?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I never been to San Diego Comic Con or New York Comic Con, but I know by looking at some videos on YouTube or some Instagram shots that there's so many people just in one spot. And when I went to France, I didn't know what to expect. I looked at photos and I knew that I wanted to experience that an overseas and an international convention. But when I stepped in, I thought I was in San Diego. It's so big, so crowded.
Really?
Oh yeah, it is. It is, and because they did it in like a big warehouse, like a uh, airport warehouse, so it's
Wow.
actually so packed. But I was surprised that it's not about the costumes. It's mostly about sharing experience, because there were not a lot of cosplayers. There were some of them, but it was sharing experience about, oh, what do you like, what do you share, what can you give me, like. And I remember that my suit was the only suit in as a Flash. I was the only one.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I remember that I had to meet a friend that was living in France. He was Aqualad, and with his group of Justice League, they were Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. But I was the only Flash around the whole convention for 2 days. So I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. They're focusing more on anime, on Japanese anime, and I do love anime. I'm a big fan of mangas, anime. So I wasn't so lost in what I was seeing. They give it so much important. It's so important for them to show how um, the costume or the product is important for the fans. So you could see a lot of stand with big statues, or like air balloons with the shape of a superhero, anime Japanese superhero. So
I
it
see.
was it was impressive, different, but I think that for that I would give it to Montreal or any uh, North American convention. We got that energy of loving costumes and sharing much more. So it was something different, a great experience, but I would say we got the best of the best here around North America. So
That's what I want to hear. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, definitely. They have great. I know that I did some competition. They have great competition for costumes, and mostly the World Cosplay competition are in Japan, Korea, France, but most of these competitors are from the States, are from Canada, are from around. So I could say that we get the best and then we bring it overseas. So we still have the knowledge and then the fun to be in the States or in Canada, and then share that energy and love about the Comic Con and convention. So
Yeah, no, totally, totally. And I also feel that like with European culture, like they've always liked comic books, but they've also liked so many of their own comics, and a lot of their comics weren't like superheroes, right? Like
Exactly.
at least not to like our extent. So even though they're very aware of like the same stuff that we have, when it comes to representation in the IP that they create, or in this case conventions and stuff, I can understand and make this hypothesis why there isn't so much like cosplay happening there right now. But obviously they'll catch up over time.
Oh
I
yeah, because you see, um, um, European, but because I'm not putting the Japanese, because this is another level. Everything from the East Asia, Japan and Philippines, they're another level. But if we look at the European coast, Italy, Portugal, France, even United Kingdom, they are still going up, but they're catching fast. They're catching us fast.
Yeah,
So
they are. They are.
so they got a lot to give and to also get to share. So
Yeah.
we'll see where it goes.
It's true. But like I also feel they approach social media a little differently too, right? Like even with other
Hmm.
content creators, the things that they do, it's a little not behind, but it goes in a slightly different direction, and then it tends to turn to whatever is more popular.
Exactly.